So I'm here at Shady Oaks Park in San Jose. Okay, I'm just going to go over Isaiah 58 really quickly. Okay, and we'll see how this goes because I only have like I have 7 minutes or so to do this video before my phone runs out of memory. So let me just go ahead and begin here. It's called True Fasting. It says, "Shout it aloud and do not hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Declare to my people their rebellion, and to the descendants of Jacob their sins. For day after day they seek me out. They seem eager to learn my ways, or to know my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not forsaken the commands of its God. They ask me for just decisions and seem eager for God to come near them." Okay, so what is it saying? It's saying that they're not doing the right thing, so God's not hearing them. Okay, and it's been quite a bit of that going on. You know, when Moses tried to bring them out of Egypt, and, and spiritually and completely, not just physically, okay, they were belly aching. A lot of them were saying that they want to go back to Egypt and stuff like this. Okay, and they do not come near to God, and God is not coming near to them, is what he's saying. And he made it clear, right? Isaiah, he said that God wants him to declare to the Jews their rebellion, to declare to the descendants of Jacob their sins. This is key here, as Jacob is also called a worm by God in Isaiah. This is key here. Okay, the worm is an archaic word for the snake. Okay, the ancient serpent, the dragon, what have you. Now, I'm not saying that every Jewish person by default is a devil. Okay, but certainly after my flesh dies, everybody who's still alive will have no way to connect to God, so therefore all their actions will be of the devil. Think about it. I've been saying this for quite some time. No one has even, no one even has any viable counterargument. They don't know what to say. They know that I'm right, okay, or they just don't know very much at all. Okay. Why have we fasted, they say, and you have not seen it? Why have we humbled ourselves and you have not noticed? Yet on the day of your fasting you do as you please and exploit your workers. Your fasting ends in quarreling and strife, and in striking each other with wicked fists. You cannot fast as you do today and expect your voice to be heard on high. So notice one of his key complaints here is he says they've been striking each other with wicked fists, right? The spirit behind them is wickedness and not righteousness. This part makes it crystal clear that it's a Royal African Falcon martial art order. Why? Because it has to be righteousness, and you know them by their fruit, not their flesh, okay? Not their flesh by itself, right? Because, my Father's righteous, I'm righteous, okay? But you know them by their fruit. Who goes beyond Martin Luther King? Only me, okay? And of course, it's not a cocky statement, it's just truth. All right, 5. Is this, okay, so, excuse me, verse 4. Your fasting ends in quarreling and strife, and you strike, and in striking each other with wicked fists. You cannot fast as you do today and expect your voice to be heard on high. Is this the kind of fasting I have chosen? Only a day for people to humble themselves? Is it only for bowing one's head like a reed and for lying in sackcloth and ashes? Is that what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is this not the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and to untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke. So God said true fasting isn't just keeping yourself from eating food. True fasting is the essence of communion with Christ, right? It is deeds. It is in conveying the spirit of the deeds, and by your deeds, combating injustice. Trying your best to loose the chains of injustice with all your heart. Trying your best to set the oppressed free with all your heart. Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood. So it's saying you've got to give them the spiritual food of God, right? Righteousness and justice. And also that includes actually rallying for efficient and logical new taxes to help the homeless and to, rally to insist that your government spends its money more efficiently so that they can do a better job at educating people and doing homeless services and social services and doing something about processing rape kits and so on and so forth, okay? To really get to justice and righteousness in its true form, no political nonsense, no ethnocentrism, just its true form, universal form. And it says, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood, which is the whole human race. Going back to Genesis. Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of God will be your rear guard. So what causes the Spirit of God to come into them? The righteousness of God, the glory of God, when they do the right thing. That's why faith without works is empty. It doesn't bring the Spirit of God. As the body without the Spirit is dead, faith without works is dead, is what it says in James. Okay, so again, it says, then your light, right? Your lamps, your light that you got to keep burning. The parable of the 10 virgins. Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and he will say, here am I. Right? He reveals himself. If you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk. Now, if you do this, it changes the social structure of society. And that's why God reveals himself. He reveals himself in the king. Because once you start thinking in terms of righteousness and justice and moral precision, you start seeing people differently. And people start interacting differently. And then they see that I'm the top martial artist ever possible, because they start thinking that that matters enough for it to truly sink in, for them to truly process what it means for me to be the top martial artist ever possible. It means that God has set me apart and anointed me as the King of Kings. Okay, a king of science is not as important. A king of politics is not as important. The king of Wall Street is not as important. King of soccer, basketball, you name it. Okay, but mind, body, soul, spirit. David versus Goliath, the root and offspring of David, the king of martial arts, the top martial arts ever possible, is the King of Kings. He's God's son. It is me. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and he will say, here am I. If you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk, and if you spend yourself on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and the night will become like noonday. And that especially means romantic justice. You keep breeding wickedness when God is love and God is the creator. You think that God is going to take your side? And these things cannot be accomplished after my flesh dies. This is the end. It's a key point, a key moral of the story. And the story is based on reality. It is reality in a sense. It's just it's just a lot of figurative talk and a lot of ethnocentrism mixed in there and so on and so forth. Okay. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. There's another comparison to water, right? The miracles aren't literal. They're figurative. Okay, I'm almost out of time here. I'm about to run out of time on the phone, so let me just shoot through the rest of this. Okay. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins, and your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. If you keep your feet from breaking the Sabbath and from doing as you please on my holy day,